magnificent things going on, but the people in the pews, people in the pews they're misery, they're hurting, problems big time, divorces and remarriage and fighting and abuse, and it's just continuing on. But we got this magnificent structure right here that gives to the world a beautiful image.
Oh boy, we're going to have to break. We've got to come back. We'll come back tomorrow and continue on. It's a theme that the Lord's really been working my heart on. And the tragedy is I look at myself and say, Willard, how much of what you do is motivated out of that area instead of out of simply a life flow in Jesus. Well, I want to tell you, folks, it isn't hopeless. In fact, the more you let go, the more you gain. This is one of those things. The more you're willing to lose that part of your life, the more you gain His life. And that's the good news. That's really, Jesus came to give us good news.
Good news.
Great news. Okay. Well, James, thanks you for being with us today. He's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I would say, James, it's good to have you back with us today.
It's good to be back. It's always good to be with you.
Thank you.
It's good to talk about Jesus.
Well, I think I was going to say, it's a subject matter that makes all the difference here.
Yes.
You know, we started off talking yesterday about, well, we're going to get to a parable, actually, today. But I said we're going to get to it yesterday. We never did, although we spoke about the elements of it to some degree.
We were speaking about it. We just didn't mention the parable itself. The very idea when the disciples said, why do you speak in parables? And He says, because it's given to you to know, but it's not given to them. And that's what we were talking about yesterday, this inner working of the mind that keeps getting in the way of God speaking to our heart. We keep trying to move out of the fleshly realm into the spiritual realm by acts of flesh, and you can't get there. See?
But I think the confusion for us, if I can just say, James, is we talk about our body and to talk about the carnal realm. You know, we can understand that, you know, fleshly, but we don't relate mental and fleshly all the time. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You know, we understand the spirit, but we don't think of the mind as being, from a biblical point of view. And I'm using it with the flesh the way the Bible speaks of it. We're not talking about this kind of flesh, but it speaks of the natural man.
Yeah, flesh does not mean flesh and blood, meat on this body here. You know, it doesn't mean that. It actually means a mindset, a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking where I'm in control, I'm thinking, I'm doing it, as opposed to God doing it. That's what flesh means in the biblical sense. The scripture verse that you used this morning spoke to me, because that was the first message I ever preached as a young man in high school to a youth group. And of course, you know, being a high schooler, the oratorial skills were not there, but neither was the message either, because I missed it entirely. You know, coming out of the King James, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice. So you know what I said to those young people. He said God's looking for a group of young people that will present their body a living sacrifice.
Very motivational.
Come off the pew, ready to walk forward and give my life. I surrender all. I do. And I read over one little phrase there that makes it possible. It said, I beseech you therefore, brother, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice. So you left out the power source.
Yes.
The therefore in that first verse, therefore, brother, means he said something, and based upon what he said, he's getting ready to say. Well, what he said back in Romans 9, 10, and 11, coming up to 12, was, it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God which showeth mercy. See, well, willing and running is me presenting myself a living sacrifice. See, and that's basically what I did in that message as a young man, which I wish I could say that was the only time I did that, but 25 or 30 years came along. I kept trying to get people to will it, make up your mind, and do. When he says it's not of him that willeth, it's not of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. It's the mercy of God that empowers us to do it. Now, the reason why we're not receiving that mercy is because we're trying to will it and run it. See, we're trying to present our body a living sacrifice. Okay. And mercy, for years, the last couple of years, I've kind of played mercy and grace a little against each other, but they're really kind of...
Well, they work together, don't they? There's a need for them to be working together.
It's like a coin with two sides. And I'd often describe mercy as not receiving from God what you deserve. And then grace would be receiving from God what you don't deserve. But I think it's a little bit fine, it needs to be tuned a little bit more as we get this brain out of the way, is that mercy is the compassion of God. It's the love of God flowing to us. Now, in that love of God flowing to us is forgiveness, mercy. But more than just forgiving us is the empowerment to not do those things for which we need to get forgiveness for. See, and we have a tendency to leave that side out. That's the grace of God.
Precisely. I'll agree with you. Go on. Go on. No,
yeah. And when we don't understand that, see, when I didn't understand that, I was standing up and giving an impossible challenge to a group of young people who, because they were young and hadn't found out yet that they couldn't. Now, see, you can't give that message to 45, 55, 60-year-olds. They just look at you and say you're crazy because we tried and tried and tried and
we
failed
still haven't been able to do it.
Still haven't been able to do it. But you get a group of 18, 19-year-olds who don't know yet they can't do it. They'll bite on that because it plays through that flesh within us, the Adamness within us, to be able to work for God, earn what we can, merit what we can. We want, we want to deserve. We want to earn God's love. See, and that's a part of us, in us, and all of us. And basically it comes because all of our life, as we grew up as young people, as kids in our family, we desperately needed to experience acceptance, approval, affection. If we got acceptance, approval, and affection, we had a sense of wellness about us. But in reality, we didn't get that to various degrees. Not because mom and dad necessarily hated us. It's basically because we didn't know how to, we parents didn't know how to show that love. And see, so we didn't get that, and so we set out on to try to earn it. And so we desperately tried to earn the love of our parents. We tried to earn the respect of our peers. We tried to, and we just spent our life doing that. And so much of Christianity today is trying to earn a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, instead of letting the love of God flow through the family of God. Let's just say it this way: if the love of God flows through me to you, you will be accepted, approved, and loved. See, and so what you were trying to do to earn, it comes from the love of God. But that's what we've been talking about yesterday and today, is to recognize that this God loves us, and this love is the power source by which we become what we're supposed to become. But you see, we're often not getting that. It's getting to do, and so I try to do because I want to be accepted. I want to be approved.
Sure.
I want to feel like people like me. And so I keep trying to do things to do that. And the sad reality is, we keep getting let down by it. So what I'm suggesting is, why don't we shift our attention back to, it sounds a little crude, but shift our attention back to Jesus Christ rather than on us, what we're doing. See, and that's what the parable is all about. That's what the parable of the sower is all about, is that if you look at that parable, he says that Jesus said he spoke in parables, many things in parables, and the sower went forth to sow. And the implication is that in the first century, he'd put his hand into the bag and he would throw the seed. And out of that throwing of the seed, some of it fell on the wayside, some of it fell in stony places, some fell in thorn-infested ground, and some fell on good ground. See? Same sower,
right?
Same seed,
yes,
but 4 different responses. See, it brought 4 different responses. So it wasn't the sower, it wasn't the seed. See, it was the condition of the ground in which the seed fell on.
Right.
Now, as we work through this and come to understand this, then the condition of the ground governed the response. Now, before we let the boxes jump in here.
I was going to say, the boxes are already working.
Already working, see.
Okay,
before we let the boxes jump in here, then we fall into this trap to say, well, then I must condition the ground. I'm
going to change the condition of my soil because I want to be a 60 or 100-fold soil.
Yeah, and you can't do it. See, the ground has no capability to change itself. See, so as we go through looking through this, 100-fold, 60-fold, 30-fold, and if you would ask any Christian, we all want to be fruit-bearing Christians. You know, especially because the emphasis is on us doing, you know.
Well, then, yeah, particularly.
We want to be fruit-bearing Christians. Well, and basically what we've done the last 20 years is we have taught people how to be fruit-bearing Christians. See, we've taught people how to witness. We've taught people how to pray. We've taught people how to grow churches. We've taught people how to do all these things, which is just a natural fruit that comes out of a seed that's had the opportunity to germinate, send forth root, bring forth the plant. Mm-hmm. See, so everything that we want to see is contained in the seed itself. Everything. See, if it's just allowed to germinate, send forth the roots, bring forth the plant and the fruit. See, so what we have been spending our time is trying to make these fruit come out of doing whatever we do to the plant, instead of letting the word, as Jesus says in the explanation, that he that heareth the word, see, the implication is the word is the seed and the ground is our heart. Now, that's where the difficulty comes in. The ground's not our head. The ground's our heart. The ground's our spirit. See, and you can't churn the heart down here with the head. In fact, this is how we said it for years. You know, I understand it up here.
I just can't get it down here.
I can't get it down here.
Yeah.
And so we spend all of our time trying to get it out of here down to here. Wrong direction, wrong process. It won't work. You can't do it. You can't get it from here down to here. See, it goes the other way. It comes into our heart, comes into our spirit, and then comes out up here. Or, as the Old Testament says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. That's what Paul meant in Romans when he said, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, you shall be saved. Now, again, the boxes click on two things we must do. Believe in our heart, confess with our mouth. But see, that's not what he's saying. That's our boxes interpreting that. As I go through some of this, people will say, well, why didn't Paul say that? Well, he did. We're just not reading it that way. Okay. We're reading it from where we're coming from. And so we interpret it altogether different. Mm-hmm. So when he says believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, all he's saying is, if this word is in your heart and is allowed to germinate, send forth roots, bring forth the plant, there will be a confession out here. He's not talking about the mouth. He's talking about your life.
The word confession and life are very similar. I mean, that's the word.
Well, like in the King James, we hear the word conversation. Yeah. Like Paul said, the life that I live is not with fleshly wisdoms, but by the grace of God have we had this conversation in this world. Now, see, conversation we hear talking, words, yeah. But it's not talking about that. It's manner of living. So this confession is coming out of our mouth, but it's relating to our life. So all he's saying is, if the word, same thing in the parable, if the word is allowed to set with our heart, then it will produce life. If that life is being produced, you are saved. See, that's what he's saying. See, but we can't get this head out of here. We can't get this mind out of here. We can't get this thinking process out of here. And actually, the head and the mind is what's throwing us. See, that's what caused the fall. Listen to what Jesus said. Jesus said, he said, for judgment I've come into the world, that they which see not might see. Mm-hmm. Which, no problem there. It's the next phrase. And then they which see might be made blind.
That one's a toughie.
That's the one we struggle with, see. And then he says, and the Pharisee says to him, are we blind also? Now, if you remember Paul's statement about the Jews and the children of God in the first century, they were instructors to the blind. They were instructor of babes, guide to the blind. So when they said, are we blind also, I think that's probably a statement that they were expecting of sort of a pat on the back.
I say, no, absolutely not. You guys have got all the insight in the world.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the response they got, though.
No, the response they got was, if you were blind, you should have no sin. But now that you say, we see, your sin remaineth. See, so tied into that sin remaining is this whole concept of seeing. Which brings us back to the parable again, the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. They see, but see not. They hear, but they hear not. So you take Adam and Eve when they ate of the tree of the garden in the garden. Before, they were blind, but they saw. Afterwards, they saw, but were blind. See, and that's the reality is you got to move out, as you were saying, you got to move out of this fleshly realm into the spiritual realm. See, now, anyone who's been in Christianity for any length of time, no matter what the tradition is, know that we need to be spiritual.
Right.
See, we must be spiritual people.
Yes.
But what we don't understand is that other side of the coin, one coin, two sides, how we become spiritual. See, that's that verse you were sharing with me the other day in Psalms, you know, that God is light and salvation. If you can remember, how does that go? How'd that go?
Well, the Lord is thy light and thy salvation. I mean, that's Psalm 27, verse 1. I mean,
yeah, and
that's been working in my heart for weeks now.
Yeah, and as you were sharing, salvation, yeah, we understand that pretty good.
But light.
That's where we struggle.
That's a struggle one.
Yeah, that's a struggle.
That's
and
right.
And what you were sharing with me was so powerful that as it was working through you.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be putting words in your mouth.
Well, I'm going to come back in the second half. I'll talk about it. I'll come back and we'll chat about what the Lord really kind of revealed to my heart about this.
Yeah.
Because it isn't something that I hadn't particularly caught hold in this whole lot. Because again, I found it throughout the New Testament and the Old. God is revealed as light.
Yes.
Jesus said, "I am the light of this world."
Yes.
And light, I mean, he's talking about spirit light here.
Oh, yes.
He's not talking about natural light. He's talking about spiritual light. And there's no spiritual light outside of Jesus. There's
exactly
absolutely
right.
none.
Yeah, Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life." See, life, yes, but the light
of
life. What does a walking in darkness person look like? It's a person that don't know where he's going. It's a person that's stumbling. What should I do here?
Okay,
what should I do?
And what characterizes people that aren't seeing light spiritually in our world today? They are lost, and we're wondering why we don't have the answers in so many places of our world. I mean, we've got such intelligent people, and they're not getting the answers.
Yeah, intelligent more than ever before, and yet we're stumbling.
And more machinery available for these minds, and still not getting the answers that will really solve life's problems.
And so we're not understanding that He's the light.
That's it.
See, and so we're walking in darkness and stumbling around, coming to a fork of the road. You say, well, where could I go? Which way should I do? When I come to a fork of the road, should I go this way or should I go that way? See, and the tendency is to say, oh, God, I've got to go to you and got to pray. You got to show me which way to go. Well, that's true, but we also need to realize when we're at the fork of the road, we don't know which way to go. It means we haven't been walking in His light. Because He knows which way to go.
He knows which way, yeah.
See, so
and we haven't been hearing. We haven't been seeing the direction.
Haven't been hearing. Absolutely. So we spend all our time saying, God, okay, you got to reveal to me. You got to reveal to me which way to go. What way should I go? Instead of saying, God, forgive me. Forgive me, Lord. Something has went wrong in my life because I don't know which way to go, which tells me I've been doing this instead of Jesus. And at that repentance of coming back, he just come and say, God, I need your help.
Yeah.
He comes on the scene.
And that gives room now for him to reveal himself in the situation. We're going to break. Sorry. We're coming back right back for those of you that are getting the full hour, which is a good bulk of the audience. Right now we're going to go to Betty and have a prayer time. I ended the section saying I was going to talk about something, James.
Yes. We're going to talk about an aspect of Christianity that many of us are missing.
Well, I can't take any credit for this. That's what happens. The Lord does something in my life. I was in my quiet time. It was last week sometime, I suppose. I was reading just in my quiet time. I was reading the passage in Psalm 27, and just the very first part of it. And it goes on that often we read a psalm, and I just want to read the whole psalm. That's my normal. A psalm a day is great for me. Yeah. But I started reading the psalm, and it started off, and I just read it, and it like this. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And I was going to go on from that, and then it was caught in I just felt to stop about it and just think about it. And salvation, I knew about it. I began listing what salvation means to me. And in the New Testament, the word for salvation is sozo. It's Greek, and it means wholeness, health, well-being, just all kinds of just living in the blessings of God, just the fullness of God's provision. Okay, but then I thought, but light. And that, it just, James, it just caught me short. I just said, you know, the Lord is my light. The Lord is my light. And what came to me when I was thinking about this was, another verse came to my mind. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my path. That's later on in the psalm. I forget what number it is, 100 and something I think it is. Yeah. But anyway, so that psalm came to my mind. And I thought of how I tended to see the light of God. And my concept has always been, up until that morning, that when I read the Bible, and I read God's Word, it adds to the knowledge I've got. It gives me insight besides what I already have. So, in other words, it helps bring clarity.
Yes.
That was the way I saw it. But then this verse said, but He is my light. He's not some light. He's not an additional light. He is the light. He is my light and my salvation. And I thought, well, Lord, I haven't seen you as total light, because if I don't have light, I have darkness. I mean, that was what,
yes.
that was a thought that came to my mind. And I was thinking, well, you know, how do I see this light? What do I perceive this light with? And I thought, you know, and the whole concept of spirit light rather than natural light, yes, began to come through to me. And I began to realize that you know, I need to have the facility to be able to see that light.
Yes.
Somehow. I need eyes that will see that light,
yes,
in order for that light to be real. Yes. And